Pastor Caitlyn. If you do not know me, thank you. Good morning. I see some new faces, so if you don't know me, that is my husband, Pastor Chris. If you want to hear my favorite preacher, you can come back next week. He will be speaking again, I believe. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry, because it changes a lot. However, I love Mother's Day. I love celebrating moms. We would not be here without our moms, and they are worth celebrating, right? I have 4 little ones of my own. I love the little trinkets and the little gifts they give me. It's one of my favorite things. The other day, one of our sons bought me a purple pair of sunglasses from the Dollar Tree, and I put them on, and his compliment was, "You look just like Minecraft." I said, "Oh, thank you so much." If you don't know what Minecraft is, they are square-headed cartoon monster-looking things. So I guess the goal was accomplished. I'm going to pray real quick. Lord, I thank you for today, Father. I pray that you would be honored in this house, God. I pray that your word, Lord God, that you gave to me, Father, would be portrayed in the way you want it portrayed, be spoken with grace, Lord God, and that hearts would be touched by you. In Jesus' name, amen. We have been talking in a series about past, present, and today we are going to talk about the future. Our first sermon was on getting past our past, not staying there, not harping on things, not living in regret. And then last week we talked about embracing the moment and really living in the moment, being present, being aware, and enjoying our life, right? And today we are going to talk about how basically we can't see the future because we are not Marty McFly and we cannot go there, right? But what we can do is make choices today that we know will plan for our future. And we serve a God that makes plans, and that is talked about in Jeremiah 29:11. Everybody loves that verse, right? That the Lord has plans for you, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. And when I read that, that tells me if the God has plans, then he's okay with me having plans too. Right? He doesn't say, "Oh, I'm going to go make these plans. You sit back and enjoy yourself." No, he wants us with those plans. He wants us on that track. And I am a planner, so that brings me joy, but it might not bring you joy. You might just want to sit back and let somebody do all the planning for you. But after that verse, it says, when you pray, I will listen. So if God's making plans, what are we supposed to be doing? Praying. That tells me if he's making the plans and he has a plan for my future and he has a hope for me, then my job on the other end of that is to be praying because he says I'm listening. And then he says, when you seek me wholeheartedly, I am going to be with you. I'm going to be there for you. You will find me. So while God has all these great, magnificent plans because he is omnipresent and he was in our past and he's in our present and he's in our future, we still need to be praying and seeking the Lord there. And just on the topic of Mother's Day, when you see those 2 pink lines on that thing, you immediately feel like you have to plan everything in between now and 9 months from now, right? Anybody been there? Anybody had a panic moment? Because I've had a few. But even though it's funny because it works out every time, but every time I'm like, what are we going to do? Oh, we're going to raise this baby, right? It's going to be fine, and God's got it. But we plan and we change things, and we may have to change our schedules, and we may have to find a daycare. We may have to change our work plans. Whatever it is, we're planning for this new baby to come. And recently, in this last week, I read a story about a woman who was a missionary in the Philippines, and this is in the 80s. And she was pregnant, but nobody knew yet. So I'm assuming she's early on pregnant, right? Well, she caught an infection from an amoeba in the water and fell into a coma. So she got really sick. And so the doctors took care of her. They pumped her with antibiotics because they, figured out what it was. But when she came to, she tells them that she's pregnant, and they're like, "Oh no, we just gave you all these drugs to help you. Like, your baby is not going to survive this because of this bacterial infection that you have. You're so malnourished that your baby is not going to survive this." And whatever it is that she contracted over there was more than just like a one and done thing. It wasn't like, "Oh, we gave you these antibiotics and you're good." She was very sick throughout her whole pregnancy, and it was very hard for her. And they kept encouraging her, like, look, ma'am, if you would just get rid of this baby, we could help you get healthy and you can have another baby. And so they were encouraging her to abort her pregnancy, to end her pregnancy, and she wouldn't do it, right? She's like, I believe God is going to heal me. I believe he's going to care for my baby. And she stood firm on that. She didn't know that her child was going to grow up to be Tim Tebow. Right? This is Tim Tebow's mom that I'm talking about. She didn't know when she said, no, this is a child of God and God has a plan and he has a hope and he has a future for this baby. And she sacrificed her own life and her own sickness. And, she stood her ground on that. She didn't know that her son would grow up, and other than his football, famous for that, he has a foundation that homes orphans, and he cares for special needs children, and he's doing all these amazing things because of one choice that she made, right? She didn't know that one choice was going to have a life that impacted millions. He's impacting children all over the world because of the life that he chose to live for the Lord. So our choices today matter more than just right now. And I know you've heard that over time. And I know if anybody in here went to Chalmette High, you're already hearing Mr. Warner in your head, right? The choices you make today shape your world tomorrow. Is that what it is? Because I didn't go there. But I heard you all say it. But it's so true because the small things matter. And even though that's a big story, right? Like that was a big moment in her life where she had to decide, like, I might not make it through this and my baby might not either. And then I might look like a fool at the end of all of it. But I believe that the Lord's going to handle this and he's going to heal me and he's going to keep my baby safe. That was a big moment. But what about the small moments, right? What about the day-to-day life? The little things when you choose not to do something and you're going against the grind. I want to read a story out of Mark today, Mark 14, and we're going to read 3 through 9. It says, meanwhile, Jesus was in Bethany at the home of Simon, a man who had previously had leprosy. While he was eating, a woman came in with a beautiful alabaster jar of expensive perfume made from essence of nard. She broke open the jar and poured the perfume over his head. Some of those at the table were indignant. Why waste such an expensive perfume? They asked. It could have been sold for a year's worth of wages and money given to the poor. So they scolded her harshly. But Jesus replied, leave her alone. Why criticize her for doing such a good thing to me? You will always have the poor among you, and you can help them whenever you want. But you will not always have me. She has done what she could and has anointed my body for burial ahead of time. I tell you the truth, wherever the good news is preached throughout the world, this woman's deed will be remembered and discussed. And here we are today discussing this woman, right? But what's amazing about this story is it's in every gospel, and it's told a little bit differently throughout the gospels. However, we know that they are relaxed and they're eating dinner. We know that Jesus had recently raised Lazarus from the dead, right? And he's preparing his disciples that he's no longer going to be with them every day. And he's trying to explain to them what that actually means, right? That he's going to have to go die on the cross. And so they're just relaxing and they're having a meal. And this woman, who we believe is Mary, comes in while they're eating, and she begins to pour, I think it was 12 ounces from what I studied, pour the jar of perfume on top of his head. Now, if I came and dumped a whole jar of perfume on top of your head, it would probably begin to run right down your body, onto your feet. And then she takes her hair and she begins to wipe his feet and she begins to clean his feet with it. Now, in this time, that wasn't necessarily a weird thing to do. It's not like everybody was like, what are you doing? Right? They weren't so much shocked that she was anointing him with oil or with the perfume as they were at the fact that she did it, like, all of it. Why couldn't you just put a little dabble and anoint Jesus? Like, what are you doing? He would have been just as honored, right? Like, but the thing is, she was like, this is so precious to me. And the oil that she uses here, when you look into it, spikenard was used for like kings or honorable people, kingly people. And And it was done, she was doing it just out of gratitude, just because of who he was. And she just wanted to show Jesus that she honored him because she loved him so much. And she understood his value and his worth in the fact that she got to be in the same room with him and she might not ever see him again, right? Like, she's probably hearing them talk about these things. So she's like, I need to honor him while he's here with me. I need to do this for him. And so she goes at his feet and she's worshiping him and she's dumping this all out on him. And then she begins to cleanse it with his feet, which is another form of honor in their day, was to wash their feet. We know that. So I just got to thinking, like, what is something that I value so much that I wouldn't want to give it to the Lord? Because that's what the followers are saying here. Why are you doing that? What a waste. Why are you doing that? And what's funny is it never once says that she tells them anything. She's so focused on Jesus. She's so focused on who he is and who's right in front of her and who she was meant to honor and what she values in life that she doesn't even respond to the criticizing. She just keeps honoring him and she keeps worshiping him because she values him. And so one of the things we can learn from this is, in order to live today for tomorrow, I want to pull 3 things from this story. And the first is that we have to understand the value of Jesus. The value of Jesus. Who is he to you? Did he save your life? Does he keep your family safe? Did he die on the cross for you? Do we value him the way that we worship him? Do we value him when we go to work? You see, because when she dumped this oil on him, this perfume, I'm sure it smelled. And I don't know if you've ever walked through Dillard's, but it could nearly kill someone sometimes, okay? If you've ever worked in that department, I'm so sorry, but I run from those people like nobody's business because it just, it kills me. But it's bad. But perfume, it smells good, but I don't know if I want a whole bottle on me. You ever smelled a teenager who just got their first cologne? It's rough. It is rough. Okay, so I'm sure that home filled of that fragrance. Like, they probably smelled it from the street, okay? And I don't think they bathed every day. Y'all could correct me if you're wrong, but I'm just sure that wasn't a luxury that they had. So they probably smelled for a really long time. Everyone in the room got to smell like that, okay? But she valued him so much that she dumped it on him, and then I could imagine that as the days went by, he still would smell that fragrance. Oh, I'm a king, right? And reminding himself, like, I may be walking to the cross and dying as a sinner in front of this whole community. Like, they're watching me die as a sinner. But let me be reminded what this woman did, because my Father says I'm a king, right? And so when we do that and we value and we honor Jesus, we should have a scent about us. We should bring an aroma to a room, not one that makes people leave. It should be one that's welcoming, right? So if I'm covering myself in Jesus and I really value who he is, do I light up a room when I walk in, or does everybody want to leave and run through like Dillard's? Are people running away from you? Are your words sweet like honey, like the word says? Because if I truly value Jesus, that means I have to value the words in this book. That means I have to value everything it says I should live by. It should be held precious to me. And that's not always easy, right? It's not for me. It's not always easy to walk this out because there's people that don't like it. And if they don't like this word, then they're really not going to like me because it's stuck with me and I'm sticking with it, right? And so there's going to be times where I don't want to wear the value of Jesus that I truly believe he is, but I need to walk that out. She understood who was in the room, and she made a decision that something that was so expensive and something that was so precious that she was going to give that to him, and she was going to honor him with it in that moment. And just like, her name's Pamela. We're just going to call her Pamela because poor lady, Tim Tebow's mom, she had a name before that. Her name is Pamela. Tim Tebow's mom, she valued her faith. And when everybody else was saying, you really should get rid of this baby because you're going to die. And this baby's going to be so malnourished that he's never going to make it. She valued Jesus. And she said, no, I have a God who's a healer. And I have a God who's going to keep this baby safe. And that's the small decision that she made that day. Another thing we need to do in order to live today for tomorrow is we must ignore the indignant people. Ignore the indignant people. One of the translations says that they said, what a waste. Has anybody ever told you that? I just thought how criticizing and cruel that is to hear, what a waste. Something that she spent time, and I'm sure she thought about it like, oh, this is so precious. I'm going to use this for something really good one day. Jesus is here. This is my moment. This is what this was for. I'm going to go give this all to Jesus, to immediately be told, what a waste. What are you doing? That was so dumb. So they say, why waste such expensive perfume? They were very put off. And if you don't really understand what the word indignant means, it means for somebody to be so annoyed with what you're doing that like they feel it's unfair or unjust, right? Which is why they try to bring up the point of like, you could have done this with it. Why would you even do that? Because look at all these people you could have helped with a year's worth of wages. You could have helped so many poor people with that. What are you doing? And in their minds, they're like, we're so righteous. Jesus is going to love this. And he's like, no. You don't understand. She knows who I am. You must not get it yet. She knows who I am. And some phrasing here that can be a little bit scary for us to think is in verse 5, it says, it could have been sold for a year's wages. And I have that underlined in here because that jumped out to me. How often do we say like, oh, I could have done that instead? Or I should have done that instead. And we live in the could haves, in the would haves, in the should haves. And we let those indignant people, we let those people question us. And then it kind of starts to sink in and we're like, why did I do that? And we start to doubt ourselves. Because it's easy to do that. It's easy for people's opinions to make us start to feel like, well, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe that was a wrong decision. And a good way to drown that out is to line it up with the truth, to line it up with the word. There's always going to be something else. And that's basically what Jesus tells them. There's always going to be something else. What does God ask you to do? What does God want with your most valuable thing? And I started to think, what is something that's so valuable to me that I wouldn't trade it and give it to the Lord? That I wouldn't just waste it all on him, right? Because that's what they called it, wasting it all on him. Would you give him your time? Would you give him one night a week? These are things that people have questioned me about, right? Why are you going to Bible study one night a week? You already have work 9 to 5. You have to feed your kids. You're rushing around. Some days you look a little chaotic, Caitlyn. Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? It's a community of women that I need in my life to keep me encouraged on the days when I want to kill my kids. They keep me encouraged to not kill them, right? It's Mother's Day. We can be a little bit honest. We've all had those thoughts. What about giving him our money? That's something that's very valuable to everybody. And we want to hold on to it so tight. And the Lord's like, if you would just trust me, if you would just live open-handedly and trust me, I got this. I have a plan I have a hope. Your future is bright. The word says that hope is the anchor for our souls. So if you're feeling a little unsteady, your anchor is not in Jesus. What about when we make the decisions to, I'll tell you a big one right now is, I have a kid in 5th grade and she just needs a phone. She needs it. And everyone else has a phone, Mom. And I need to be able to call my friends and everybody else has one, Mom. I'm not doing it. Sorry, sister. And then I'm mean, and then I'm not her friend. She don't like me anymore. And that's okay, because you know what? Those are things I told my mom, and she's my best friend. So joke's on you is kind of how I feel about it. But that is something that can be, it can seem so silly, but I believe that's an open door to things that she's not ready to see and she's not ready to hear, right? And I don't need to tell her all of the reasons why she doesn't need a phone. She just needs to know that Mom's standing her ground on this one, and that I'm believing that she has a brighter future than to open doors way too early in her life. Don't be afraid to stand your ground when you know that it's right, because the world will tell you it's a waste. You're wasting your time. You're wasting your time. She's going to get exposed to it. She's going to find a way. She'll watch the YouTube at a friend's house. I'm going to make it very difficult, right? And that's kind of where we need to be. We need to say, you know what? This may seem silly to you, but I'm going to honor Jesus in everything that I do because he is the most valuable thing to me. And if I could trade, this is a scary question, and it's going to be bold to say, but I started to think, what is the most valuable thing I have? And it really is my family. Because you can take all the things you want. My family. And I almost feel like as I was praying, like the Lord said, well, would you give me them? That's harsh. I don't know, God. I don't know if I would be willing to pour them out on you. I don't know if I'd be willing to trust you with them, right? But he says, I got it all together. I got a plan. Just give them back to me. And it's funny that Jason mentioned Hannah this morning, because that's exactly what she does, quite literally. In that story, she says, if you give me a child, I will give them back and to the temple, and they will be raised in the ways of the Lord. She doesn't even raise that kid. Do you trust God with your family? Do you really lay them down at his feet and trust him wholeheartedly? I think if we really, truly did, that we wouldn't hang so tight to the things of the world. We wouldn't feel so much pressure to give them the phone or to give in to the millions of practices and running here and there. And we do it, and it's fun. We got Sam in baseball right now, and it's not always fun, but it's cute. And, but like, I'm not selling my soul to just bring him to practices 5 nights a week. It's not happening. And I think we can get that pressure, and we can get that feeling of the perfect American family. And am I doing enough? And am I not doing enough? And is my kid missing out? And am I sending them to the right school? And we can live in this chaos because we're not drowning out the indignant people. And instead of coming to the word, and instead of saying, okay, God, how do you want me to raise my kids? Oh, in the ways of the Lord. Oh, you want them to display the fruits of the Spirit? Well, I don't know if they're learning that at drama club practice, so maybe I need to do a little bit more of this instead of running around like a crazy person going to whatever practice we're going to, right? Don't let the world be your guide, because that's what these people were doing to this woman. She knew that perfume was expensive. She knew how much it costed. She wasn't ignorant to it. And she said, oh, this is the man. This is the man who deserves all the honor and all the glory, and he's going to get everything that I have because he's so worth it. And immediately, when she decided to make that decision, she was told that she was being wasteful and that it was stupid. And there will be people who tell you that living for the Lord is silly because he loves you anyway, and we're all children of God. Except this word says that we're supposed to lay our lives down for him. Lay our lives down for him. Live in a place of honor and value for Jesus. Let's keep going. So after they scold her harshly, it says, Jesus rebukes them. Leave her alone, he says. Why do you criticize her for doing such good things to me? You will always have the poor among you. You won't always have me. She has done what she could. And that's my third point here. She did what she could. And in order for us to be able to look into our future and to be able to say, God, I trust you with my future, and I'm going to listen to you in the small things today so that I can have a plan for my future, we have to give the Lord what we have. I don't have what you have necessarily. I have 4 kids. I can raise them up in the way of the Lord. I can do what I think is right and live by this word and raise them to be warriors for the kingdom. I can raise them to be kids that stand up for truth, kids that take up for other kids, kids that don't let bullying happen in their sight. I can raise them to be children of God. I've created 4 warriors for the kingdom. That's what I have. I may not have any superpowers, right? I may not have any, I don't know if anybody in here does. I may not have, an immense amount of money to throw at the church and to say, do what you want and we're going to change the world. But I do have a job and I do make money and I can give him what he asks of me. I can be obedient in that. Think about that. What do you have? She did what she could, and the Lord honored it. What do you have on hand? What is he asking you for? Because let me tell you, when you give it to him, he will always take up for you. He will always have your back. Every time. Every time. And not only that, it brought him... In the moment, can you imagine her thinking that she's showing so much honor to the Lord? And at the end of this story, he says, you're going to be honored. You're going to be spoken about for the rest of time. And she's like, hold up, wait, I was coming to do a really good thing here. You're the one I want to honor. You're the one I want to worship. You're the one I want everybody looking at. And Jesus says, stand up. This is a great representation of worship and honor to me. And the Lord will honor your sacrifices. He will honor whatever you pour on him. I've seen it time and time again in my life. I've seen it over and over, how the Lord will just use something that I think is so insignificant, and it brings him glory. He honors sacrifice. And as I come to a close, it's funny because as I was praying about, last week, Chris mentioned that one of the hardest things for him is to live in the moment. And that's so true. We're very different people. If you get close to us, you will find that out. But his hardest thing is to live in the moment. He's very visionary. He's a dreamer. He loves to look 5 and 10 and 20 years down the road. And I'm like a weeker. I like to live in the week. I might could do the month sometimes. Okay, so he will ask these grand, big questions about our future, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. He's like, you don't have anything you want to add to that? And I'm like, nope, sounds good. I go where you go. We're family, So, the Lord paired us up for a reason. But in thinking about the future can kind of make you a little anxious. I think it can do one of 2 things. You can be scared to look into the future because you feel like you can't even handle today. How am I ever going to look to the future? Or we could be hopeful for our future, and we can plan and we can believe that the Lord is already there, right? It can send you into a little bit of a I don't know if I'm ready for the future. I think I'll stay right here, right? But I love last week when Chris said it's all about seeking God's pace. That really stuck with me. It really did. It came to the surface all week. Sticking with God's pace and seeking his kingdom means to seek the pace of the Lord. And that, we can have all these grand ideas and all these plans, but there's a proverb that says that a man's heart makes plans, but the Lord directs his steps. He's not saying it's wrong to make plans. He's saying, make sure I'm in it. Make sure you're seeking me first. And so we can't live in our past because it's already gone. And we need to embrace the moment, but I also need to look for the future. That can feel a little heavy, right? So my thought was, well, where am I supposed to live? Am I supposed to live in the present or am I supposed to live in the future? I don't know. Is Chris wrong when he's dreaming 20 years from now? Or am I wrong because I can only handle a week? And this is what the Lord said. Abide in me. So simple. It's in John 15 if you want to look it up. Abide in me. That's where we live. In him. And there's such peace in knowing that if as long as I'm living in Jesus, as long as he is in my life, then I'm right where he needs me to be. I don't need to worry about tomorrow. I need to trust that I'm walking in his plan. I don't need to get anxious about looking 5 years from now. I can make the plans. I can dream the dreams, but I need to trust that he's going to take me every step of the way because he has a plan for my future. It says, in that same verse, he says, I am the vine and you are the branches. Are we connected to him? Are we truly connected to him? You see, because when that woman came in with that perfume and she began to dump it on him, she understood that that was her only source of hope for her future. That was her only source of hope, and that he was worth everything that she had, all of it. Abide in me, and he'll take care of us. If you can bow your heads with me.